Calvin Klein is a highly respected and celebrated American fashion designer known for his clean silhouettes and sultry campaigns. Since it opened its doors almost 40 years ago, Calvin Klein has been raising eyebrows all over the world for its hypersexualized images of young models and overt innuendos in its campaigns. From Mark Wahlberg's explicit crotch grab in his 1992 campaign to a 15-year-old Brooke Shields' claim that nothing comes between her and her Calvins, Calvin Klein has always been synonymous with sex, and in more recent times with the reinforcement of negative gender stereotypes. One moment in particular that caused an overwhelming amount of discussion was the 2016 Soho, New York advertisement featuring side-by-side images of Clara Kristen alongside Fetty Wap. Kristen's portion of the ad featured a full-body shot of her in a barely there slip dress with the tagline reading, "I seduce in my Calvins," printed over the top of the photo. On the other hand, Fetty Wap's face is the only subject of his advertisement, with the tagline reading, "I make money in my Calvins." While this placement in itself was rather unfortunate and definitely came off as degrading, in my Calvins campaign as a whole, it's fairly progressive. In one photo, a model poses with the tagline displaying, "I gaze in my Calvins," a much more tame tagline, while another, featuring Kendall Jenner leaning against a wall in her underwear, reads, "I find strength in my Calvins," proving that not all of Calvin Klein's women's advertisements are overtly hypersexualized. Based on the Public Relations Society of America's Code of Ethics, no major ethical codes are being violated by Calvin Klein in these advertisements. As a public relations professional, it is our duty to be a responsible advocate for the brands we represent while helping to inform public debate. It's necessary to acknowledge the issues in portraying women as hypersexualized and, in comparison, men as strong and empowered, and the effect that this message has on the public should be made known. Additionally, it's important to recognize the amount of reach an ad of this kind of controversial magnitude has in comparison to a more tame advertising campaign. This may benefit Calvin Klein and may prove to be something that, promotes them doing these kinds of advertisements in the future. No legal laws are being violated, so the issue is solely a social justice one. In this case, as a public relations professional, there is a duty to protect the public while also loyally representing the brand you are focusing on. In this case, both sides of the issue must be considered in order to come to a fair solution. I feel that from this perspective, I would recommend that Calvin Klein make a point to be more conscious of the ads in which they put together and the message that they're sending for future campaigns. In the case of this particular Soho advertisement, Calvin Klein should have publicly apologized for the offensive nature of this campaign and replaced it with more empowering aspects of the photos that they took, like one model and a stunning professional dancer, and an action shot that reads, "I excel in my Calvins." Apologizing and replacing the advertisement in question means a loss of immediate funds for the brand, but also promises paybacks in the form of positive publicity in the wake of a rectification of a wrong against the fight for gender inclusivity. Another option would be to follow the example of the Kendall Jenner Pepsi ad from earlier this year and to just pull the advertisement altogether after making a public apology. In future campaigns, a more serious focus of empowering all subjects is crucial, as is a proper and positive representation of a wider variety of gender identities. Ultimately, the purpose of this case study was to illustrate the possible ways in which Calvin Klein could successfully maintain its reputation as a sultry, progressive, and modern brand without objectifying or hypersexualizing women. Additionally, I would like to highlight that while the advertisements do not explicitly violate any specific public relations code of ethics, public relations professionals do have a duty to protect the public, and images of an overtly sexual nature can be triggering and upsetting to many individuals, especially in the context that they are provided. An apology and replacement advertisement or complete revocation of the campaign would be suitable responses to the public's distinct issue with the ad. As a whole, Calvin Klein is a fairly gender inclusive and positive brand. That being said, it often chooses to highlight and more actively publicize the more prominently sexual advertisements that it produces. Ethically speaking, Calvin Klein should choose to promote more of the many empowering and inspirational images of women in its database, since there are plenty of them. Thank you.